Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the defense station, Defiant Guardian. He looked out at the dark space around Earth's outer edge. The stars were quiet today, but Jake knew that would change soon. His communication officer, Lieutenant Sarah Park, turned to him with worry in her eyes. "Captain, we're getting a message from the alien fleet. It's marked as urgent." Jake nodded. "Put it on the main screen." The screen filled with the image of a tall, green-scaled creature. Its yellow eyes were cold and hard. This was Admiral Corax of the Zephyrian Empire, leader of the Galactic Coalition fleet. "Humans of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English. "I am Admiral Corax. I speak for the 12 species of the Galactic Coalition. We have watched your people for many years. You spread too fast across the stars. You build too many weapons. You are dangerous to the peace of our galaxy." Jake felt his hands turn into fists. He had heard words like this before from other alien species. They all said the same thing. Humans were too wild, too unpredictable. Admiral Corax continued, "The Coalition has decided. You have 72 hours to make your choice. Give up all your colonies beyond this star system. Submit to our protection. Accept our guidance. Do this, and your people will live under our care." The alien's voice grew harder. "Refuse, and we will remove the human threat from the galaxy forever. You have 3 days to decide." The screen went black. Jake immediately opened a channel to Earth. "Get me Admiral Lisa Carter at Fleet Command. Priority 1. Minutes." Later, Admiral Carter appeared on his screen. She was a strong woman in her 50s, with gray hair and sharp blue eyes. Behind her, Jake could see other important people gathering. "Jake, did you get the message too?" Admiral Carter asked. "Yes, ma'am. Every station in the outer system received it. They're not hiding their intentions." Dr. Peter Collins stepped into view. He was Earth's top expert on alien species. His face was pale. "Admiral, I've been studying coalition behavior for 20 years. When they make threats like this, they mean them. They have never backed down." General Amy Brooks joined the conversation. She commanded all of Earth's ground forces. "How many ships do they have out there, Jake?" Jake checked his sensors. "My long-range scans show at least 3,000 ships in their forward fleet. But our deep space stations report many more ships moving toward human space. This isn't just a threat. They're preparing for war." Admiral Carter was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke to someone off-screen. "Get me President Stone. Tell her. We need an emergency meeting of the World Council. Now." She turned back to Jake. "Captain Morrison, keep your station on high alert. Watch everything they do. If they so much as point a weapon at Earth, I want to know immediately." "Yes, ma'am. But Admiral, what are we going to tell them? 72 hours isn't much time to evacuate 47 colony worlds." A new voice spoke from off-screen. It was Commander Ryan Hayes, head of Earth's most secret military project. Jake could barely see him in the shadows. "We're not evacuating anyone," Ryan said quietly. "It's time to activate Protocol Omega." Dr. Peter Collins looked confused. "Protocol Omega? I've never heard of that." Admiral Carter gave Ryan a sharp look. "Are you sure we're ready? We only get one chance at this." "All systems have been in place for 5 years," Ryan replied. "Chief Engineer Kate Williams finished the final preparations last month. We just need the order." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard whispers about secret projects, but Protocol Omega was new to him. "Admiral, what is Protocol Omega?" "Something we hoped we'd never have to use," Admiral Carter said. "Jake, return to Earth immediately. Leave Commander Davis in charge of your station. We need all senior captains for what comes next." The communication ended, leaving Jake with more questions than answers. He called his second-in-command, Commander Claire Davis, to the bridge. Claire, you have the station. I'm taking a shuttle to Earth. Monitor the alien fleet, but don't do anything that might provoke them. Claire Davis was young but smart. She had been Jake's right hand for 3 years. Sir, what's really happening? The crew is scared. Jake looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, thousands of alien ships were preparing to destroy everything humans had built among the stars. But something in Admiral Carter's voice told him that Earth wasn't as helpless as the aliens thought. I don't know yet, Claire, but I have a feeling the Coalition is about to learn something important about humans. As Jake's shuttle raced toward Earth, he thought about the colonies that might be lost. New Texas, where his brother lived with his family. Kepler Station, where humans mined rare metals. The farming worlds that fed millions of people. The aliens called humans dangerous. Maybe they were right. Maybe they were about to find out just how dangerous cornered humans could be. On Earth, in deep underground facilities that most people didn't know existed, machines that had been sleeping for years began to wake up. Dr. Susan Blake checked readings on equipment that officially didn't exist. Lieutenant Commander Josh Wright sent coded messages to hidden installations throughout. The solar system thought the countdown had begun. In 72 hours, the galaxy would learn what humans had been doing during their 30 years of peaceful contact with alien civilizations. The Coalition thought they were dealing with a young, weak species that would surrender when threatened. They were about to discover their first mistake. President Helen Stone stood before the largest gathering of world leaders in human history. The emergency session of the United Nations had been called just 6 hours after the Coalition's ultimatum. Every nation on Earth had sent representatives. Even the colony worlds had managed to connect through quantum communication links. Fellow humans, President Stone began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. We face the greatest threat in our species' history. The Galactic Coalition demands we surrender our freedom or face extinction. In the audience, Governor Alex Turner of New Texas Colony shifted in his seat. His world was home to 2 million people, including farmers, miners, and their families. Through the communication link, his voice reached Earth clearly. Madam President, New Texas stands with Earth. We've been preparing for this day since we first arrived here 15 years ago. Our people won't abandon their homes without a fight. Director Sam Martinez from the mining world Kepler 442b nodded in agreement. The mining colonies provide Earth with materials you can't get anywhere else. If we surrender to the Coalition, humans will be dependent on alien technology forever. We can't let that happen. Dr. Maya Foster, Earth's chief strategy expert, stepped forward. She had spent years studying alien behavior and Coalition politics. In her hands was a datapad containing the full text of the alien demands. The Coalition wants us to abandon 47 colony worlds, Dr. Foster explained. They want us to destroy our entire fleet, except for a few cargo ships. They want human military leaders to report to alien commanders. They call this protective custody, but it's really slavery with a nice name. A murmur ran through the assembly. Many of the leaders had suspected the Coalition's true intentions, but hearing it spelled out so clearly made it real. Captain Claire Davis appeared on one of the large screens. She was still aboard the Defiant Guardian, watching the alien fleet. The Coalition ships are moving into attack positions around all major human colonies. They're not planning to negotiate. They're planning to invade if we say no. General Amy Brooks stood up from her seat in the front row. Our intelligence suggests the Coalition has over 10,000 ships positioned for this attack. That's the largest military force ever assembled in our part of the galaxy. President Stone looked around the room. Before we make our decision, I want everyone to understand what we're choosing between. If we surrender, humans become servants to alien masters. Our children will grow up under alien rule. Our colonies will be controlled by alien governors. Our ships will carry alien observers who can overrule any human captain. She paused, letting the words sink in. If we refuse, we face a war against overwhelming odds. Many of us will die. Some of our worlds may be destroyed. The aliens have weapons and technology that we're supposed to fear. Governor Turner's voice came through the speakers again. Madam President, with respect, I think there's something the Coalition doesn't know about us. President Stone smiled slightly. Governor Turner is right. Admiral Carter, would you please explain Protocol Omega? To our assembly? Admiral Lisa Carter stepped to the podium. Behind her, the main screen showed a star map of human space. Red dots marked Coalition fleet positions. Blue dots showed human colonies and defense stations. 30 years ago, when we first met the aliens, some of us suspected this day would come. Admiral Carter began. We saw how they treated other young species. We heard their comments about human aggression and unpredictability, so we began to prepare. The star map changed. New blue dots appeared throughout human space, dozens of them in places where no human installations were supposed to exist. 30 years we've been building in secret, hidden bases, weapon factories, research stations. We've been reverse engineering every piece of alien technology we could get our hands on. We've been improving it. Dr. Peter Collins, who had been quiet until now, stood up. Admiral, I've worked with alien technology for decades. Even our best reverse engineering efforts shouldn't be able to match Coalition weapons. Admiral Carter's smile grew wider. Dr. Collins, you've been working with the technology they wanted us to see. But our deep space exploration ships have been busy. We've found things the Coalition doesn't know about. Ancient ruins. Abandoned technology from species that died out millions of years ago. We've learned to combine it with our own innovations. Chief Engineer Kate Williams appeared on another screen. She was speaking from a location that looked like no facility anyone recognized. Strange devices hummed in the background. We've been testing quantum manipulation drives that make our ships faster than anything in the Coalition fleet, Kate explained. We've developed gravity weapons that can crush enemy ships from a distance. We've created automated defense platforms that can think and fight on their own. The assembly was silent. Even the colony representatives seemed surprised by the scope of Earth's secret preparations. Commander Ryan Hayes stepped out of the shadows for the first time. Most of the assembly had never seen him before. Protocol Omega isn't just about weapons. It's about showing the galaxy what humans really are. When we're pushed too far. President Stone looked around the room one final time. The Coalition thinks we're a young, weak species that will submit when threatened. They're about to learn that they fundamentally misunderstood human nature. She called for a vote. The result was unanimous. Every human representative, both on Earth and in the colonies, voted to reject the Coalition's demands. Admiral Carter activated her communicator. All stations, this is Fleet Command. Transmit our response to the Coalition fleet. The message was simple and direct. Humanity respectfully declines your offer. We choose freedom. As the transmission reached the alien fleet, hidden systems throughout human space began to activate. On asteroids that had seemed empty for decades, weapon platforms powered up. In nebulas where no human ships were supposed to be, entire fleets began moving toward Coalition positions. Admiral Corax received Earth's response aboard his flagship. He had expected the humans to beg for more time or try to negotiate. A flat rejection surprised him. Prepare the fleet for attack, he ordered his officers. These primitives need to learn the cost of defying the Coalition. What Admiral Corax didn't know was that the primitives had spent 30 years learning everything about Coalition tactics, technology, and weaknesses. The humans weren't just refusing to surrender. They were ready for war. In the final hours before the conflict began, human families across the galaxy said their goodbyes. But they weren't saying goodbye as victims preparing to die. They were saying goodbye as warriors preparing to fight. For everything they had built among the stars, the Coalition had given humans a choice: freedom or slavery. Humans had chosen freedom. Now they would show the galaxy what that choice really meant. The war began exactly 72 hours after the Coalition's ultimatum expired. Admiral Corax's fleet struck the outer human colonies first, expecting quick and easy victories. The aliens had fought many young species before. They always surrendered. After losing a few ships and seeing the size of the Coalition armada, New Terra was the first colony to come under attack. The planet was home to 800,000 humans who had built farms and cities in just 20 years. Coalition intelligence said the world had only basic defenses, a few orbital platforms, and some ground-based weapons. Admiral Corax sent 50 ships to capture New Terra. It should have been enough to overwhelm any human resistance. Colonel Ben Parker commanded the New Terra Defense Forces. He watched the alien ships approach on his tactical display. His men were nervous. They had never fought a real battle before. But Ben had a secret that the aliens didn't know about. "All units, this is Colonel Parker," he spoke into his communicator. "Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. Activate all hidden systems now." Across New Terra, weapon emplacements that had been disguised as farming equipment suddenly revealed themselves. Missile launchers rose from what had looked like grain silos. Energy cannons emerged from artificial hills. The orbital platforms that the aliens could see were just decoys. The real defenses had been hidden inside asteroids for years. The Coalition attack force found themselves facing twice as many weapons as their intelligence had predicted. But that was just the beginning of their surprises. Captain Nick Rogers commanded the human destroyer Freedom's Edge. His ship was one of only 5 vessels defending New Terra space. According to Coalition calculations, 50 alien ships should easily destroy 5 human ships. "All ships spread out and use pattern delta," Captain Rogers ordered. "Let's show them what real space combat looks like." The human ships didn't fight the way the aliens expected. Instead of forming battle lines like civilized species, they scattered in all directions. They used hit-and-run attacks, striking fast and disappearing before the aliens could respond. Their ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything. In the Coalition database, Lieutenant Sarah Park, now serving as Rogers' tactical officer, monitored the enemy fleet. "Captain, their formations are breaking apart. They can't keep up with our speed changes." The aliens had never faced opponents who used 3-dimensional space combat. Most species fought in neat, organized formations. Humans treated space like an ocean, flowing around enemies and attacking from unexpected angles. On the planet's surface, Colonel Parker's soldiers wore armor that made them look like walking tanks. The Coalition ground troops expected to face humans with basic equipment. Instead, they met soldiers who could jump 50 feet, lift heavy vehicles, and see in complete darkness. Private Danny Brooks was part of Parker's special assault team. His powered armor let him move faster than any alien soldier. When Coalition troops tried to surround human positions, Danny and his team appeared behind enemy lines like ghosts. "This is impossible," one captured alien officer told Colonel Parker. "Your species has only been in space for 60 years. How do you have technology that surpasses ours?" Parker smiled inside his helmet. "We had good teachers. We just learned different lessons than you expected." The battle for New Terra lasted 3 weeks instead of 3 days. When it was over, the Coalition attack force had lost 37 ships and thousands of soldiers. The humans had lost 2 ships and held Their ground dot similar scenes played out across human space. Every colony that came under attack fought back with unexpected strength and strange new weapons. On Earth, Dr. Susan Blake worked in laboratories buried 5 miles underground. The facilities had been built in secret over decades, hidden from alien observers who thought they were monitoring all human military development. The quantum resonance weapons are performing better than expected, Dr. Blake reported to Admiral Carter. Human ships are cutting through coalition shields like they don't exist. Lieutenant Commander Josh Wright coordinated the secret defense network from a command center that officially didn't exist. Admiral, our hidden platforms are reporting successful engagements across 12 star systems. The aliens still don't know where half our weapons are coming from. Admiral Carter studied the battle reports flooding in from across human space. The coalition was winning some battles through sheer numbers, but they were paying a much higher price than they had expected. How long until they realize what's really happening? She asked. Commander Ryan Hayes, standing in the shadows as always, answered quietly. Their intelligence officers are probably writing reports right now. They're discovering that everything they knew about human capabilities was wrong. On the coalition flagship, Admiral Corax was indeed reading disturbing reports. His fleet had captured 3 human colonies, but the cost had been enormous. Human ships fought like nothing his officers had ever seen. Human soldiers used tactics that seemed impossible. Human weapons were somehow more advanced than coalition intelligence had indicated. How many ships have we lost? Admiral Corax asked his aide. Over 400, sir. The humans have lost less than 50. Admiral Corax's scaled face showed his confusion. That's impossible. We have overwhelming numerical superiority. Their technology should be inferior to ours. His chief intelligence officer, Commander Veltar, approached with a data pad full of troubling information. Sir, our analysis suggests that human technology has advanced far beyond our estimates. They're using weapon systems that shouldn't exist based on their known industrial capacity. What are you telling me, Commander? Sir, I believe the humans have been preparing for this war much longer than we thought. Every piece of technology they've shown us over the past 30 years may have been deliberately limited. They've been hiding their true capabilities. Admiral Corax felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of military service: doubt. The coalition had fought dozens of young species. They always followed the same pattern: initial resistance, quick defeat, eventual submission. But humans weren't following the pattern. Send additional fleets to all remaining human colonies, he ordered. Double our attack forces. If the humans want to make this difficult, we'll show them what the full might of the coalition can do. What Admiral Corax didn't know was that humans had been monitoring coalition communications for years. They knew about the reinforcements coming. They were ready. In hidden bases throughout human space. Automated factories worked around the clock, building ships and weapons faster than the coalition thought possible. Ancient alien technology, combined with human innovation, had created an industrial capacity that could replace losses almost as quickly as they occurred. The coalition had expected to fight a young, weak species with limited resources. Instead, they found themselves in a grinding war against an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with every battle. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding a battle group of 12 ships, led an attack on a coalition supply convoy. His ships appeared out of nowhere, destroyed their targets, and vanished before enemy reinforcements could arrive. This is Jake Morrison to all human forces, he broadcast on a secure channel. The aliens are learning that cornering humans was their first mistake. Let's make sure it's also their last. 6 months into the war, the Galactic Coalition was learning a painful lesson about human determination. What they had planned as a quick police action had become the bloodiest conflict in galactic history. Captain Tony Miller stood on the bridge. of Earth's newest and most powerful warship, the dreadnought Indomitable. The massive vessel was 3 times larger than any ship humans were supposed to be able to build. It mounted weapons that Coalition scientists insisted were impossible for a young species to develop. "Captain, we have the Zephyrian battle group on long-range sensors," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Amy Chun. 12 heavy cruisers and their escort ships. They're heading for the Tau Ceti colony. Tony studied the enemy formation on his main screen. The Zephyrians were using their standard attack pattern, a disciplined advance with overlapping fields of fire. It had worked against every other species they had conquered. "Signal the squadron," Tony ordered. "We'll show them why that formation is useless against humans." The Indomitable and her escort ships didn't approach the enemy directly. Instead, they used gravitational manipulation drives to fold space around themselves, appearing above and below the alien formation simultaneously. "All ships fire at will," Tony commanded. The human weapons didn't just punch through Coalition shields. They ignored them completely. Quantum disruption cannons tore apart alien ships at the molecular level. Gravity bombs crushed enemy vessels like tin cans. In 15 minutes, the entire Zephyrian battle group was destroyed. Lieutenant Chun watched the wreckage on her sensors. "Captain, we didn't lose a single ship. Our shields absorbed their attacks without any damage." "Send the recording to Admiral Carter," Tony said. "Let her know the new weapon systems are working perfectly." Across human space, similar victories were becoming common. Human ships that should have been outgunned were destroying Coalition fleets with ease. Human soldiers with impossible armor were defeating alien ground forces that outnumbered them 10 to 1. Dr. Eric Johnson worked aboard the research vessel Discovery, hidden deep in an asteroid field. His team had been developing new technologies based on ruins found on dead worlds far from Coalition space. "The exotic matter experiments are exceeding all expectations," Dr. Johnson reported to Earth. "We can now manipulate gravity, time, and space itself. The Coalition has never encountered anything like this because most species aren't crazy enough to experiment with forces that could destroy entire star systems." Engineer Carla Thompson nodded as she calibrated a new gravity manipulation system. The aliens build their ships to fight other aliens. They never imagined facing weapons that could change the laws of physics in a local area. The Coalition's member species were beginning to question the war. Ambassador Veltar of the Centaurian Republic had watched his people's ships disappear into human space and never return. Unlike the reptilian Zephyrians, the Centaurians had always preferred diplomacy to warfare. He sent a secret message to human diplomat Janet Foster, who had been hiding on a neutral space station since the war began. Ms. Foster, the alien ambassador, said during their clandestine meeting, "My government wants to discuss ending this conflict. We never supported the ultimatum to begin with. The Zephyrians forced it through the Coalition Council." Janet Foster was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes were sharp with intelligence. "Ambassador Veltar, I appreciate your courage in contacting me. But I have to ask, where were the Centaurians when your Coalition decided to threaten human children on 47 worlds?" The alien ambassador's tentacles moved in. What humans had learned was a gesture of shame. "We were cowards, Miss Foster. We let the Zephyrians convince us that humans were dangerous. We see now that the only dangerous thing was underestimating what humans would do when threatened." "The Zephyrians aren't the only ones having second thoughts," Janet replied. "Our intelligence shows that at least 6 Coalition species are privately questioning this war. But it may be too late for partial surrender." Meanwhile, the Coalition's military situation was becoming desperate. Admiral Corax had lost over half. His fleet and human forces were now attacking Coalition supply lines deep in alien space. Captain Danny Brooks, commanding a squadron of stealth ships, led raids that appeared impossible. His vessels could travel through space without being detected, strike at coalition bases, and vanish before reinforcements arrived. "This is Brooks to Eagle Squadron," he transmitted to his pilots. "Intelligence shows a major coalition supply depot in the Rigel system. We're going to hit it hard and fast." The human stealth ships materialized inside the Rigel system like ghosts. Coalition sensors couldn't track them until they opened fire. By then it was too late. Commander Lisa Palmer, Rook's second-in-command, coordinated the attack from her. "Fighter, all targets destroyed, Captain. The Coalition fleet in this sector won't have supplies for weeks." As they prepared to leave, Palmer noticed something on her sensors. "Captain, I'm reading Coalition emergency transmissions. They're calling for help from their home fleets." "Let them call," Brooks replied. "Every ship they pull back to defend. Their territory is one less ship attacking our colonies." The war was changing in ways the Coalition had never experienced. They were fighting a defensive war against an enemy they had tried to enslave. Human forces weren't just holding their ground. They were advancing. Admiral Carter reviewed the strategic situation from her command. Center on Earth, the underground facility had grown into a city-sized complex that managed the war effort across dozens of star systems. "Report, Commander Hayes," she requested. Ryan Hayes emerged from the shadows with a datapad full of information. "Human forces have liberated 11 colonies that were captured early in the war. We've destroyed over 2,000 Coalition ships. Most importantly, we've captured intact examples of their most advanced technology. What about their industrial capacity?" "Severely damaged. Our raids on their supply lines have forced them to pull ships back from the front lines to protect. They're manufacturing worlds. They're fighting the kind of war they've never had to fight before." Admiral Carter allowed herself a small smile. "Any word from their diplomats?" 3 Coalition species have sent unofficial peace feelers through neutral channels. They want to negotiate separately from the Zephyrians. The Coalition's unity was cracking. The alliance that had ruled the galaxy for centuries was falling apart because they had chosen to fight humans instead of trying to understand them. On his flagship, Admiral Corax stared at reports that made no sense. Human industrial capacity seemed unlimited. Their ships appeared faster than his forces could destroy them. Their soldiers fought with a ferocity that alien psychologists couldn't explain. How is this possible? He demanded of his staff. They're just one species on one world. We represent 12 civilizations spanning thousands of star systems. His chief of staff, a young Zephyrian officer named Sub-Admiral Krex, had been studying human behavior since the war began. Sir, I believe we fundamentally misunderstood human nature. We saw their expansion and military growth as signs of primitive aggression. We didn't realize it was actually careful preparation. Preparation for what? For this war, sir. I think they've been getting ready to fight us since the day we first met them. Admiral Corax felt the cold touch of fear. If the humans had been preparing for 30 years, what other surprises were waiting for his fleet? He was about to find out. 1 year after the Coalition's ultimatum, the war had become a nightmare for the alien alliance. Human forces were no longer defending their colonies. They were attacking Coalition territory and winning. The breaking point came when humanity revealed their ultimate secret. Commander Paul Anderson stood in a control room that existed in normal space and hyperspace simultaneously. The Quantum Command Center was humanity's greatest achievement, built using technology that even the ancient alien ruins hadn't fully explained. Admiral Carter, all quantum communication nodes are online, Paul reported. We have instantaneous contact with every human ship, base, and colony in the galaxy. And the automated platforms? Ready for activation. We've been building them for 20 years. The Coalition never detected them because they exist in folded space until we call them. Admiral Carter took a deep breath. Do it. Activate Protocol Omega Final Phase. Across the galaxy, space itself seemed to come alive. From asteroid fields, nebulas, and empty regions where Coalition sensors had detected nothing, thousands of automated defense platforms materialized. Each one was the size of a small moon and armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The platforms had been waiting in dimensional pockets for decades, powered by exotic matter reactors and controlled by artificial intelligences that had been learning Coalition tactics since the war began. Admiral Corax was leading a massive assault on the Sol system when the platforms appeared. His fleet of 3,000 ships suddenly found themselves surrounded by 5,000 human weapons. Platforms that had materialized from nowhere. This is impossible, his tactical officer reported. Our sensors show no ships, no energy signatures, nothing. Then suddenly they're everywhere. The platforms didn't attack immediately. Instead, they sent a message on all Coalition frequencies. Coalition forces, the artificial voice announced. You are surrounded by automated defense systems that have been observing your tactics for 1 year. You have 10 minutes to surrender unconditionally or be destroyed. Admiral Corax tried to order an attack, but his ship's weapons had no effect on the platforms. The human defenses absorbed every shot without taking damage. How are they doing this? He demanded. His science officer, trembling with fear, provided the answer. Sir, these platforms exist partially outside normal space. Our weapons can't hurt them, but theirs can destroy us. As the 10-minute deadline approached, Admiral Corax realized he was facing technology that the Coalition couldn't match or understand. His proud fleet, the largest military force in galactic history, was helpless against human innovations. On Earth, Admiral Carter prepared to deliver humanity's final message to the galaxy. She stood in the rebuilt ruins of Luna Base, which had been destroyed in the war's first week, but reconstructed as a symbol of human determination. Captain Jake Morrison, now Admiral Morrison after a year of victories, stood beside her. Behind them were the leaders who had guided humanity through its greatest trial. General Amy Brooks, Dr. Susan Blake, Commander Ryan Hayes, and dozens of others who had turned Earth from victim to victor. Open channels to every inhabited world. In the galaxy, Admiral Carter ordered, it's time for the Coalition to hear our terms. The transmission reached every planet, every ship, every station in Coalition space. Alien leaders who had never seen a human face now watched Admiral Carter deliver humanity's ultimatum. To the species of the Galactic Coalition, she began, her voice calm but filled with authority. 1 year ago, you came to our worlds with an ultimatum. You demanded that we surrender our freedom and accept your guidance. You threatened to destroy us if we refused. A camera pulled back to show the devastation around Luna Base, then switched to images of human colonies that had been attacked by Coalition forces. You chose to solve your fear of humanity with violence and threats. You chose to make war on our children, our farmers, our miners, our explorers. You chose this conflict. Images flashed across the screen. Coalition ships being destroyed by human weapons, alien bases captured by human forces, Coalition fleets retreating from human space. Now you have seen what humanity becomes when cornered. You have witnessed what we accomplish when you try to chain us. Every weapon you face was built by the primitive species you sought to subjugate. Every tactic that confounds you was devised by the dangerous minds you tried to control. Admiral Carter's image returned to the screen. Her eyes were hard as steel. We offer you now what you offered us. Surrender. Withdraw from all of human space immediately. Pay reparations for the colonies you destroyed and the people you killed. Accept our terms for future contact between our species. She paused, letting the words sink in across the galaxy. Refuse, and discover what happens when humanity stops holding back. For 30 years, we prepared for this war while pretending to be your peaceful students. Everything you've seen so far is just the beginning of human capability. The screen showed images of human ships that dwarfed anything the Coalition possessed. Weapons that could destroy stars. Automated fleets that outnumbered all Coalition forces combined. You chose this conflict. We will choose how it ends. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. Within hours, Coalition member species began surrendering individually. The Centaurians were first, followed by the Aquatic Collective, then the Silicon-based Crystalline Union. Even some Zephyrian fleet commanders began laying down their weapons rather than face certain destruction. Admiral Corax found himself alone with only the most fanatical Zephyrian ships. His once mighty alliance had collapsed as species after species chose survival over pride. 3 days later, even he surrendered. The formal ceremony took place on Earth, in the same United Nations building where humanity had voted to reject the Coalition's original ultimatum. But now the roles were reversed. Coalition ambassadors came to Earth to sign humanity's peace terms. Admiral Carter, now promoted to Supreme Commander of Human Forces, accepted the surrender alongside President Stone and the other leaders who had guided humanity through the war. The war is over, Admiral Carter announced to the assembled diplomats and media, but the galaxy has changed forever. Humanity is no longer the junior species seeking acceptance. We are now the dominant military power in this region of space. She looked directly at the former Coalition leaders. To species that choose peace and cooperation, we offer friendship and trade. To those who threaten human colonies or our allies, you have seen what we are capable of. Ambassador Veltar of the Centaurians spoke for the surrendering species. Supreme Commander Carter, we acknowledge that the Coalition gravely misjudged humanity. We accept your terms and hope to build a better relationship between our peoples. Admiral Carter nodded. The galaxy is large enough for all of us, Ambassador, but it will be governed by different rules now. Captain Jake Morrison, watching from the audience, thought about how much had changed in just 1 year. Humanity had gone from defending a handful of colonies to controlling a space empire that spanned hundreds of systems. The Coalition had tried to force humans into submission. Instead, they had created the very thing they feared most, a human species that was no longer bound by alien expectations or limitations. As the ceremony ended and the former Coalition leaders departed Earth, Admiral Carter looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were establishing new colonies on worlds that had belonged to the Coalition. Human scientists were studying alien technology and improving it. Human diplomats were negotiating with species that had never imagined, taking orders from the primitive inhabitants of a small blue world. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about underestimating humanity. It was a lesson they would not forget. In the years that followed, humans became the protectors of young species and the peacekeepers between older civilizations. The galaxy was safer and more peaceful under human guidance than it had ever been under Coalition rule. And on Earth, children learned about the war that had transformed their species from students to teachers, from subjects to rulers, from victims to the guardians of galactic civilization. The Coalition had given humanity a choice between freedom and slavery. Humanity had chosen freedom and made that choice possible for every species in the galaxy.